those that were waiting for the rest. But I will say that I got wonderful cooperation from the libraries in the area as I did research and research at the behest of my colleague, Professor Hodgkins, who said, have fun researching. And so I
we always
take
do that, right?
bull by the horns and literally go into the sources. So there was a history that was actually written in 1873. So they were from that as being the modern times, and in there then they showed those that had served and those that also were in the different professions, attorneys and doctors and so on. And right here we are by the monument of Charles Millet, and I was looking for him. Dr. Millet practiced then in the first half of the 19th century, and he then died in 1852, and he was one that was lost as a result of the cholera epidemic, and he died from cholera. And I was looking, and I am still looking for a Dr. Wigan, who not only then served the community as a doctor, but he also then went to war in the Civil War and was an officer for 9 months. This is a work in process, and I'll find him. So we're here near a monument that I want to share with you, and this person's life tells us an awful lot by his deeds more than his words, I would say, about his deep feelings and then how he acted them out for the benefit of our community 50 years ago or so. And so I'll be introducing him in a moment. But in the same time frame, 1827, a gentleman by the name of Robert Roberts wrote a book to people that wanted to go into service as into the great houses of Europe, England, America, as a footman, a valet, a butler, and so on. So this book is largely a list of things to pay attention to: cleaning knives, organizing the wine cellar, cleaning one's vestments, clothes, and so on, to make the right presentation. And but the intriguing thing to me, I was reading this for other reasons than being with you here today. It was written in 1827, and his mindset and his relationship about the relationship of employer and employee, highly reflective of the first half of the 19th century, and very much the mindset reflected by the next person that I'm going to introduce to you. So, by way of the words of Robert Roberts, butler extraordinaire and instructor of the erstwhile household servant, then I want to let you know what was on his mind in 1827. Roberts. My dear boys, my sincere advice to you is to study at all times, to give to the general well-being of your employer, and by so doing, to give them that satisfaction, you will gain to yourselves credit most surely. Second, I would say, beware of all bad habits. For instance, gambling, drinking, cursing, the telling of falsehoods, and even the wasting of time. When you are out on the business of your employer, even this time is not your own, but your employer's. And finally, all stations in life are appointed by that supreme being, very author of all goodness. And therefore, every station which he allows us to fulfill is both honorable and useful, whether it be lowly or high, each in its different degrees.
Well done.
We shall follow your advice.
Was this Mr. Roberts, was he a Auburn, Lewis and Auburn person?
He was not. He then served in the great houses, as he referred to them, didn't give names, in the continent, in Great Britain, and in the United States. And then, at this stage in his career, he decided to then teach, if you will, by writing this book. Now, I brought you to this point and mention this gentleman because that, while there are some things that we still practice in business that are similar to that, in terms of not wasting the corporate assets and minding your P's and Q's and so on, the moral tone that Roberts takes is not unlike the motivations that were behind the next gentleman I'm going to introduce you to. And most of you have already guessed who it is. The key dates in the life of then Edward Little, Esquire, were 1773, 1797, 1811, 1815, 1826, and 1849. He was graduated from Dartmouth, came into some terrible universal penniless after a great fire in Massachusetts in 1811. His father then employed him. His father had amassed huge parcels of land, including water rights on the Androscoggin, all up here in the province of Maine, coming from then Newbury, Mass. And the son then, Edward, then came to Portland, and then to, in 1826, then came to our city, built his home on Main Street, and then was interred in 1849. He was pushed by three great social movements that were very much part of our country's history at that time. The Industrial Revolution, the migration westward and northward away from the population centers, and very much caught up in the Second Great Awakening, a religious revival across all many denominations, and it took him by the throat, if you will, and colored the things that he then did. And so his philanthropy came out of that as he decided to do what was worthwhile. And so he was a pioneer in temperance. And he used his money to build one of the first congregational churches in this area, and funded it even after he got going. And then, of course, he gave the community the great Whiskey Falls Academy. All about the same time, just right after his father. His father was inquisitive, and the son was then giving of his goodness to the community. So we can thank Josiah as well for having been a very successful businessman. I have a few shots that I think that they're all identified on the back as to what they are. They start with Brigadier General Hill, and then come on down here to this part of the cemetery. Squire a monument is directly across from the rather tall and blocky. His son, Josiah Jr., is the taller monument. He earned about, and he's surrounded by roots and by other family members, Chapins and so on. His daughter Sarah married.
How did he gain the title of Squire?
Yeah, well,
I take it that it came from the fact that he was an attorney. He went to law school, and he was Esquire at the end of it.
Not necessarily, though, because in Britain, even in the 1950s, anybody who had any profession was called Esquire.
Yes, that's what we do.
So we don't know exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm sure.
But he was an attorney.
He was. And he did not practice. I don't believe that he practiced very actively here. That was in his background. And he was doing that in 1811 when the Great Fire of Newbury then came and took away everything from him. He had a publishing business that was destroyed as well. Everything. So very humiliated, if you will. And then, thanks to his father's employment, then came to Portland, met Pastor Payson, and then came here. And they built a beautiful home on 217 Main Street. And there are some pictures of it in the book as well as monuments here of little. But obviously the things that he put, the institutions he put in place, also was very active because they had mill interests here as well, of bringing in qualified technicians, millwrights and so on, of the best quality, so as to teach the skills.
I'm going to take over your shoulder.
So his main profession while he was in this area was just...
He was taking care of his father's business. So I seem a business manager of sorts. I don't know how down into the nitty-gritty of daily management of the mills that they had there in Lewiston. That was. But he also had his projects in terms of, by 1830, they had already broken ground and they were building the churches in place, and they had a temperance house that he run. And temperance houses then were like hotels, public houses, that strictly by the rules of no drink and so on, for those that wanted that kind of environment. And so he had one of his own business, and Mr. Davis ran for those years.
We have quite a collection of correspondence from Edward Little and his family at the Society.
It's available then at the
yes,
library.
At the library in Androscoggin.
Thank you, David.
Third floor. Someday, can't sleep or something, you want to come up?
And to segue into the March 10th tour that we would be having over in Lewiston at the Riverside Cemetery, he was instrumental in bringing Dean Fry to come to manage the mills.
Fabulous.
And that was the father of Senator Fry and so on, all the Frys in Lewiston. So.
I've been focusing on the Auburn story, and so stick around for the rest of the story when we go next month to Lewiston. Thank you for that. And in fact, we're surrounded by names like Libby and Dingley and Roke here, and that would be of some interest to me as I, when the snow is off, examine some of the dates on those and the names specifically to then be able to tell you other stories. Gentlemen, any interest in going up around the other side, or have we gone far enough?
Sure, we can.
Yeah? Good.
We get cold in standing still here.
Gentlemen, I assume very close. Is Millett the person that Millett Drive is known for, you suspect?
No, he was a doctor.
Millett Drive connecting Minot Ave to Court Street. I believe the Millett family, which built the strip malls there, named it after
I see. So, but they may have been descendants.
They may have been descendants. I don't know how old he was when he died. Probably middle age. 1852. I knew that he was the guy before I went up close, and it says M.D. after it.
Good.
Charles Millett died of cholera. Good. Super. So let's. Jonathan, how do you want to get over it to the ridge?
We can go down and back up.
Good. Good.
Probably follow along this.
All right, that's wonderful. Good.
I get cold standing still.